Hello and welcome to your introduction to stop motion animation. I just want to start off by just the setup for when you're taking your photos. So for this little experiment here that I'm showing you, there's 173 photographs taken. You will be basing yours on the Cornell box, which you'll have got the brief for and will have made already. Basically, your animation is going to be about, I suppose, an exploration of the box. You'll have an object or figure or something that kind of gives us a tour of your box. So when that's made, to do your photographs of that for your stop motion animation, you kind of need to think of a couple of things. First of all, I really recommend you have a tripod. If you're taking 150 to 200 shots, you need, if you're going, no matter what you do, you're going to have movement unless you have it on a tripod or on a beanbag or on a table or on a load of books, something to keep your camera steady. I have one light source here, as you can see, just a normal desk lamp, and I have very much the incredibly important background. Now this is just a black cloth that I've put on. You just need to have something that's going to distract you from things like this. If you can see here on the far right, the distraction of having where the cloth suddenly ends. It'll keep you focused on what you're supposed to be doing. Like your box is going to have an edge. If you're trying to show part of the inside of the box, you're going to see the edge. And if you suddenly then see a load of distraction behind that edge, it's going to be a problem. Whereas if you have a cloth of some sort at the back, it's not going to be. So a tripod, one light that doesn't move, then you're going to use maybe a torch or your phone with a light on that to pick up areas that you want to suddenly highlight. So the one light that doesn't move, a torch or something, or your phone to pick up areas of light that you really want to focus on, and a tripod or something that stops the camera moving. My setting on my camera is, I don't know if you can see it here, it says manual. Because if I left it on any other sort of setting, it would keep, the light source would keep changing. It would make it darker or lighter. It would constantly change. Whereas in manual, the setting is fixed. My aperture is at f5, because I kind of want to focus people's attentions on certain areas and let the rest of it kind of a little bit out of focus. And my shutter speed is 25th of a second. So, even if I wasn't saying about you need your tripod for all these photos, you would probably have a bit of camera shake if you were leaving it at 25th of a second. Remember, we kind of tend not to go under 1/60. This is 1/25. My camera file setting, normally it would be at large or medium, is actually at small here because I'm going to have 173 photographs. With this camera, the size of that will be 3.5 megabytes per photo. That's a huge amount to be bringing into any program. So, you just kind of want to keep them as small as possible. Once you've taken all your photographs, these will then be put into Lightroom to be made even smaller and to get the right aspect ratio for putting them into animation, which is 16:9. So I suppose there's quite a lot of stages before we get as far as putting them into this. We're going to go into Premiere Pro before getting them in as far as Premiere Pro. Just a few more setup shots to show you. As you can see, it's just a normal table. There's my light source, and do I have another one? I thought I had another. Yeah, and that one probably shows a little bit closer about, yes, that is 1/25, and its aperture is f/5. Okay, so once you've got all that set up and you've taken all your photographs, the next stage is you need to put them into Lightroom. Now, I have this page here, which I will put into the files, the resource files for animation, which is telling you exactly the kind of the setting you need to do with Lightroom with those photos. So I'm just going to open Lightroom Classic, and you're all very aware of how to import your photos at this stage. You've done it loads, I know, by now in class. So I'm just going to click on import, and I have it up here at the top, my 173 Premiere Lego shots. I'm going to click on them here, check all, and import. Okay, so if we just go back to that file I was showing you there a second ago, the preview one, and it kind of goes through it here. So you've opened Lightroom, you've brought in your library mode, you've imported your photos. Now you're going to develop mode and you're going to select one image, just one. And we're going to just make the adjustment. Now, the only adjustment we're making here is we're making it, as I said, 16:9, if you can see that here. And then we're going to just sync so that every other photograph that will happen to, that we're not going to have to do it 16:9 for every single photograph. So I'm just going to go through that, how to do that with you. And we're kind of done after that, really, apart from exporting after that. Okay, so I'm going to take my first one, and I know you've gone into develop mode, and I know you've all gone into cropping. Most of the time you're cropping to 10:8. We're doing a slightly different this size. So we're clicking on our crop tool, and I know you've done this already. We've normally gone to 8:10. This time we're coming down to 16:9, which is the kind of the screen size for working in Premiere and for working with your animation. So I'm just going to click on that. And I'm probably not going to change it too much. I mean, I can, as you know yourselves, you can move this up and down. I'm going to leave it in the center, and I'm going to say done. And it's done. Okay, so now I am clicking on my first one, keeping my finger pressed down onto my shift key and moving all the way down to the very end. So I can pick up my last one. Okay, and now I have them all selected. Clicked on the first one, which is the one that I did do the crop to. Make sure you do it to the first one. I've selected all the other ones now, and I'm just going to click on sync here, if you can see it. Just above all the photos. I'm still in develop, clicking on sync. And just make sure it says check all. If it doesn't, you just have to click on check all. And you can see yourself now, it does have all of them checked. And then I click on synchronize. Give it a few seconds, and they should all, hopefully, now all be the same size. That's 16:9 size. Okay. And I'm going to come all the way back down to the very end. Actually, this is a good way as well when you're in here, just to have a quick look at them and see how you're going with them. Okay, and I'm way back. So have a quick flick through. So you can see the size is slightly different now with this 16:9. You can also see what I'm talking about, the torch. So say I have my constant light on, and then there's the torch light on it. So that's all you really have to do so far in order to get these prepared for going into Premiere. The next thing is to export. So again, I am just going to go back to library, and I'm just going to select them all. There's probably a quicker way of selecting them all this way, but this is the way I do it. Again, finger just pressed on shift key and down to the very end, and I've selected them all. Okay, so now there's a few settings that we have to do, make sure we have correct here for export. So I'm going to click on export, and that sheet that I showed you earlier, let me just click on it here. This one has all about what the settings are for export. So you'll refer back to this, but I'll go through it here now on this as well. So we're exporting to wherever you want. So I'm going to export to my desktop. I'm going to put it in a folder called, actually I'll just leave it on the desktop, but I'm going to put a subfolder called Premiere Class Lego Shots. Premiere Class Lego Shots. And I'm going to click here on custom name. I'm going to click on custom name sequence in the file name section. So for in the export location, you're just saying you want to put it on the desktop or wherever you were hoping to put it. I'm just giving it a folder name. I've called it Premiere Class Lego Shots. I'm now going to go down to the bit that says file naming, and I'm clicking on custom name sequence. Now, would have just said custom name. We're changing it to custom name sequence. I'm going to call it, again, I'm just going to call it the same thing. Premiere Class Lego Shots. Okay. And then so start numbering from 1, obviously. The image format then is, so you're leaving video alone, and you're going just down to file settings. You're leaving a JPEG. The quality, in some of the other ones, I brought them down to 80 because I'm very conscious that there is, like, I'm saying to you to do between whatever 150 and 200, 250, that there's so many of them. And I know we have great Macs in the room, but I think I'm just going to bring this down to 80 so they're not all giant, huge, massive ones. There's very much to do with the size of the files. Now down to image sizing. So click on resize to fit, and you need to see this 1920 by 1080. You need to make sure that is in there, that it's 1020 by 1080, and that's the to correspond with the 12 by 9 that we did earlier. Okay, so I'm just checking that and make sure it's pixels as well. So 1920 pixels by 1080. Resolution does not need to be 300. You think of we always use 300 for like good quality photograph size. This is for putting into Premiere. I'm not going to go down as low as 72, but I kind of tend to keep it around 180. I think it's a good size for it. So your resolution will be 180. And I think, as far as I know, that's it. Oh, sorry, yes, my output is not for matte paper, it's for screen. So make sure you change that to screen. All right. And that's it as far as I know. I don't think there's any more. Let's just click on this last one. What was this last one? Metadata. We don't need that bit. Okay, so that's it. So your output sharing, your file setting, which is here, your image sizing, and your file naming. This is all on that sheet, so don't worry if this is going too quick and you can't figure it out from this one. Okay, once I have all that done, I'm going to click on export. All right, and give it a few minutes. You can see it up here where it's exporting the 173 files. So obviously it's going to take a bit quicker. I mean, sorry, a bit slower than normal to export that amount. And then we'll just have a quick look at it on screen. So this is the only, I suppose, time you're going to be using Lightroom for your stop motion animation. Is just to get your photos all prepared for moving into Premiere. Okay, so I think it's possibly done it, hopefully. Okay, it's done it. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize here. And as I said, this is the sheet which I will put into the resources, and you can refer back to this at any stage for those settings that you must do in Lightroom. I'll just close this. These are all the ones I've had up earlier. Okay, I'm going to leave this open for a moment, really just for, I suppose, just to show you. So these are the ones that I did just put into Lightroom. And you can see here, they're 3.7, 3.8. They're quite big. I remember there's 173 of them. And now let's just have a look at my new folder, which should be here. Here is, it was class, wasn't it? Premiere Class Lego Shots. Okay, so this is the new folder in here. And let's have a quick look at the size of these ones. So these have now reduced down to 337 kilobytes. So you can see there's a huge difference. It's about a third, even like more than a third, actually more than a third, much smaller than what it was. Now, if I shove that up to 100, the quality of the JPEG, they again would be bigger. They'd probably be nearer maybe 600 or 700 kilobytes. That's kind of big enough for what you want. You don't generally want it much bigger than that for what we're doing. And they're all there. So that's fine. And what I would do at this stage as well is I'm just going to click on this one, my view here, and I would just flick through. And this is kind of an interesting point, just to see any shots that haven't worked, any shots that your hand is coming through, any shots as a big, that you didn't have a proper background and you see the side of a room or something, just flick through them. You can also get an idea of what shots you have. I wouldn't worry too much about them. They're very blurry because everything goes through so quickly. And that's it.